18 holes down, 54 to go. Day 2 of the Waste Management Phoenix Open. We're bringing it to you live today in AZ. Broadcasting from just outside the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess, the rain contingency plan in full effect.
In full effect, because for some people who are driving into work or wherever you are, maybe you noticed the ground a little bit wet. At least over in the east, we had some showers. But what do you think is going to happen the rest of the day, Jimmy Q?
Yeah,
because
you guys were asking the big question. The bulk of that rainfall is down to the south of us. Will it make its way up in towards our area? It does look like the radar right now. Most of that rainfall is to the south, around Maricopa, right on in towards areas of Casa Grande. More showers in that region. So it's more south of the valley, right on in towards Tucson. Temperatures for today will be mainly into the 70s for highs. And I do think if you're heading out for today, we should be okay. This rain's going to be an early morning event, and then things will start to die down a bit. Not bad for Saturday, but late Saturday, there are going to be some big changes rolling into our forecast. We will need rain gear.
Which could affect everyone trying to come out on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know much about rain delays or if they do them or how it works. I know if there's any lightning or anything like that, they would call it. So this could potentially go into a Monday event.
So a lot of people are going to have to be calling in sick Monday.
We'll write you permission slips and we'll sign them.
Someone needs to.
Just a little scratchy to let you guys know.
Yeah, I'm already feeling sick, guys.
Nothing to worry about yet, guys. We'll keep you updated throughout the morning, though. Mike, Rachel, back over to you.
All right, thanks, guys.
You know, people are already calling sick after Super Bowl Sunday anyways.
That's true.
So, you know what? Why not parlay that into a double excuse?
I like that idea, Jen. What do you think? You know, I mean, you kind of have a built-in excuse. You know, you could say you're tired with everything going on.
That's right. Who knows? It could be in the hospital on Monday.
That's true.
I'll have to put it on social media so everybody knows it's not fake.
Exactly, right?
It's not real unless it's on Facebook.
That's true, right?
All right, as far as your traffic goes this morning, we're looking absolutely fantastic. I know my cruise into work this morning, it was pretty clear. We are starting to back up in the West Valley. We're going to start there for you this morning. All the morning commuters getting ready to head into downtown Phoenix. I-10 going eastbound 83rd Avenue. No stop and go. Our maps are still showing green, so that's good. But I think it's actually more in the orange zone. So you might see some slowing here over the next few hours. If you're headed out to the tournament, absolutely fantastic right now. You're clear on the 101, the 51, the 17, the 303, the Valley, just perfect right now. The 60, even the 202 Santan into Gilbert. So drive times for you. If you're taking the 101 to 7th Street on I-10 eastbound, it's going to only take you 10 minutes right now. 17 southbound, you're clear from the 101 to 7th Street. And the 60 going westbound from Gilbert all the way to 7th Street, you're looking at about a 20-minute commute. So for your morning ride to work, we just want to keep you reminded, if you haven't been paying attention to the golf tournament or anything like that, it is going on today, tomorrow, and Sunday. So these spots in the morning and the afternoon, expect some heavier traffic. The 101 Hayden to Frank Lloyd Wright. Guys, we'll keep you updated all morning long and let you know if any crashes do pop up.
All right, thanks a lot, Jen. This morning, Arizona is finally on board with a multi-state plan to conserve water. The legislature approved and Governor Ducey signed off on a measure that let the state join that plan. It solves a sticking point that now puts the agreement into action. Most of us in Arizona won't see an impact from cutbacks. Those cuts will be felt primarily by farmers in Pinal County.
APS says its customers will see a slight reduction in their monthly electric bill starting in February, the utility claiming it will lower electricity costs by an average of $3 a month. The Arizona Corporation Commission voted earlier this month to begin an audit and rate review of the company following complaints of increased electricity bills. Federal Election Commission says Senator Martha McSally may have accepted $270,000 more than the legal campaign contribution limit. The FEC flagged dozens of contributions to McSally that appear to exceed those legal campaign limits. McSally's campaign says they are reviewing the matter and will return any excess contributions.
Right now, a 3-year-old boy is clinging to life. He's in extremely critical condition after a pickup plows into him at an apartment complex. It happened just last night near 25th Avenue in Maryland, where police say the boy darted into the street from between 2 parked cars. Medics rushed the boy to Phoenix Children's Hospital in extremely critical condition. There were no signs of impairment for the driver. A massive drug bust along the border. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced the largest fentanyl seizure in their history on Thursday. Nearly 650 pounds of illegal drugs, fentanyl, and methamphetamines were collected on Saturday. That was at the Nogales Port of Entry in Arizona. The drugs were discovered in a tractor trailer carrying produce into the United States.
All right, time is